are now watching the College Baseball Insider Show.
It's behind him. This is hammered. Left field, and we are tied. Wow.
Now, here are your hosts, giving you an inside look into the top matchups.
Well, week one is in the books, and we are back for a little Monday special, President's Day. Everybody had the day off, I think, here. So we got a little bit of day baseball, too. Arkansas made it right after dropping the game yesterday to James Madison. They win in a 4-0 series victory. Q, Smitty, how's it going, fellas?
It's good. Good weekend. Lot to talk about. A lot of surprises yesterday. It's a long season now. But there's some teams I think are just bad. And I think there's some teams that are for real.
A lot of overreactions. Smitty,
for sure.
What did you see?
The same thing. I wouldn't overreact. There were some teams that we were a little high on, and they didn't really show up. But, it's first weekend. Let's just relax, everybody, and see how it plays out.
Well, I agree. I'm not going to overreact, but our best bets recap, I did really, really good on Friday and then followed it up by just absolute crap. And I admitted last night on X, I felt like I bet too much. And so I went back and looked at last year, opening weekend. I had only bet 20 games or 20 sides. And this week I had bet 30. And I feel like that's why I ended up 15-15. Down 1.6 units, I think. And there were a few of them that I just didn't like. And, you start hearing a lot of outside noise about, well, I like this team, and you can't help but want to bet it as well. But I need to pump the brakes and go back to my roots, because that was not like me to just start throwing out, especially totals. I don't usually bet totals. I think I went 0-4 when I bet totals this weekend. It was just not good all around. But thankfully, Friday kind of kept me right. And Q, round of applause. He carried us this week. I think he's already up double-digit units. So if you're not following along, I don't know what you're doing other than –
Hey, but I could give it right back next weekend. So don't
that's
take
true.
it for granted.
Well, that's betting. Smitty, I didn't have a chance to recap yours. I think you may have been in the same boat as me.
I was plus 2.27, I think.
Nice. Well, you're better than me. You're in the green.
Yeah, in the green. Yeah,
you'll be fine.
Tennessee was. I had a 3-teamer with Tennessee late. Texas Tech got there yesterday, and I'll tell you, Arkansas would have been a good 3-team money line play, but on Sunday. But that was, not trying to throw that at you, Matt. With your team.
Well. And a lot of it, too. Oh, let's talk about overreactions real quick. Piercy, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, looking at UCSB. How do you go out and look so dominant in that game one start with Ager, and then you just fall flat on your face? I mean, that
pressure.
They had no business. They had no business dropping that series, which going right into – the updated top 25 is out with D1 Baseball. This is what I was working on, trying to get you guys some value by getting the current odds lined up with preseason odds. The only dropout was Northeastern, rightfully so. I feel like everybody dropped them out. Indiana jumps into the top 25 after going 2-1. Does anything stick out to you as far as the big board? Q, I know you bet a little bit on Duke after what you saw, and if you look, their odds were cut
pretty significantly,
40-1, or 50-1 to 40-1.
Yeah, well, first off, Sean, I thought the show was going to be NASCAR Insiders because I thought Grissom was going to hang it up. But the Duke team, pitching wasn't my concern. I'd said that numerous times. It was the offense, but I think they silenced the crowd. Good quality competition. Was it Riesendorf? How do you pronounce his name for Indiana?
Reisdorf.
Reisdorf. I mean, they hit him really well. Meckley, I thought it wasn't Meckley. Meckley pitched for Coastal against Indiana. I'm drawing a blank on who got the start for Coastal, but they hit him really hard, and Coastal, in my opinion, pitched really well. So I tip my cap to Duke for hitting the long ball as well as they did. I thought everybody in that tournament, with the exception of Mason, did pretty well. But there are a couple teams that I did hit Duke. I think they've shown me enough. I got them at plus 500 to make Omaha, and then just a real small plus 7,000 for College World Series. If you're going to take them to make Omaha a team like them, you kind of just have to throw maybe 10 or 20 bucks on them to win it. Vanderbilt, for me, that was the team at 6. I think they should have dropped a little more. I thought Oregon State should have jumped above them. Oregon State just looked really dominant, especially today in Game 4. It's hard to win 4 straight, especially when you're kind of making up your pitching staff at that point. And then I thought Duke should have been a little higher. Nothing against East Carolina, but I thought Duke played a little tougher schedule. So even though both of them went 3-0, I think it would be suitable to throw Duke up there strictly on who they played. But overall, I think the overreaction is kept to a minimum here. A lot of people had Florida wondering, but they only got to play one game out of their control, so you can't really punish them yet because you haven't seen the Gators. So other than that, pretty solid top 25.
Smitty, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go right with Q with Duke. I think Duke had a great showing. We talked on the show on Friday about the arms. The arms are there. Their bats really came out. Logan, the first baseman, had a really good series. Stone, Zach Morse, we talked about him.
Bravo, Albrecht.
Yeah, they hit a lot of home runs. Miller, so they have the bats. I think so. I thought they were going to climb a little bit more. You talk about George Mason. Yeah, let me throw this little stat out. I broke down George Mason. That pitching coach, I bet he's feeling the heat a little bit after that weekend. I mean, that's one right there. Pour a drink for that guy. I mean, 26-0, 23-5, 9-3, gave up 6 in the first, 8 in the first, the second game, and then 2 in the first. Can they get out of that first inning? Got outscored 58-8. So, yeah, I think Duke did a great job with that. I know TCU's up there, guys, but if you really look at TCU, they struggled a little bit. Florida Gulf Coast, a very good program. They had them a couple times this weekend. I think they should have taken maybe 2 out of 3 against TCU. They had some big.
Can I interject on that though and say that the way that TCU won is almost a positive because it shows that they can be down 8 runs and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it like that, but don't get down 8 runs.
Well, no, I agree with that, but I'm saying at least your team can battle back. Like, it's
good absolutely.
To see that. Yep. Because a lot of teams, they go down 8 runs, they're looking to tomorrow, and the resiliency that Kevin Starluce's team has, that was incredible to watch. Yeah,
they were down 7-2, and I think they got Florida Gulf Coast gave up 7 runs in the last couple innings. Saturday the same thing. I think they gave up 7. I think in the 8th.
Sunday too.
Yeah, Sunday, and they got to. Florida Gulf Coast got to their 2 top pitchers on Friday and Saturday. They kind of hit them a little bit. So, yeah, shocking on that. But no, like you said, good comeback by TCU.
What's your thoughts, Grissom?
I think, I'm surprised there wasn't a lot more movement. And I get it it's just week 1 out of the top 25. I was really impressed with Oregon. They went 2-1. They were well within that game against Texas Tech. But they beat Oklahoma 4-2. They beat Baylor 7-4, which is nothing to write home about, respect to Bears fans. But Texas Tech, that game, if they would have started 3-0, I really do think they would have jumped in the top 25. They had the benefit of not having to face Tennessee in that Shriners Classic. But, man, this Oregon Ducks team is going to be salty. One of my favorite things is first pitch swinging guys, and they've got a lot of them. They're not afraid to play small ball. They about small ball Texas Tech to giving up that lead. But I think Oregon Ducks are going to be a fun team to bet on this year, especially if they can get this rotation figured out. I know Logan Mercado was penciled in to be a starter on our account. And then I think he came in for relief in game 2 against Baylor, which was kind of shocking to see. But yeah, the Ducks are definitely a team that I thought deserved a top 25 nod. I probably would have bumped UC Santa Barbara completely out of the top 25, but I understand leaving them in. It's still, I don't know. I think they're still a little bit overrated at this point. Definitely think Indiana deserved the nod. Kansas State, They dropped the one game, but all these guys that are just hanging on here at the bottom half of the top 25, I feel like you'll start seeing a lot of movement here in the weeks to come, because I'm not completely sold on those teams, which brings us to a new segment we're going to do, 3 up, 3 down. I'm still working on some show audio for it, but we've got the graphic here. This is not anything to do with the top 25. This is just a power ratings for us as the insiders, but I've got Oregon in my 3 up, as well as Duke. We touched on it earlier. Santucci looked like the real deal. He's going to be Duke's Friday night ace for as far as I can tell all season long.
He looked 100% too.
And then Aiden Weaver, the other starter, he had a 0 ERA as well as Santucci. The starting rotation, man, we try to hammer it home as a point of emphasis all season long, and Duke looks like they can absolutely contend with anybody in that ACC with their pitching staff. And then to round it out, North Carolina, had to give them the nod. They started 3-0. Yeah, it was against Wagner. They had 11 guys bat over 1,000 OPS this weekend. I think the scoring run differential was 46-14. Very impressive after losing their presumable Friday night guy in Jake Knapp. So they really got it together, got a big series win when I was really down on North Carolina. As far as my 3 down, TCU.
Well, why don't we do all the three? Why don't we do all the three?
Okay, yeah. Let's do that. Go. Give me your
ups. So all of us, Duke, I just talked to them at nausea. I thought East Carolina, they did lose some pretty tough, bats in the lineup from last year's team. They had a quality team, but I was curious to see if they were going to come out, guns blazing. And to their credit, they did. I was actually thinking they were a team that might have struggled against Ryder on the Sunday, because about halfway through game 2, they kind of started to get silenced a little bit, but they had built up enough lead. And then they didn't. They turned it right on. And that was impressive to see. Oregon State, their lineup, 4 straight, Caraway, Casper, Bazana. I'm sure I'm missing some others. They just look like they have the offense to get them to June and really do damage. I think there's more teams that I could put up there. I thought Texas Tech started turning it on, but, we only have 3 up, 3 down. I think you could probably do 6 up, 6 down personally.
Smitty.
Yeah, Duke, we already talked about Duke. Pitching there, the hitting was there. Good competition over the weekend, and they played well. East Carolina, kind of what Q said, they outscored Ryder. I think it was 30-2 this weekend. Pitching staff was there. They pitched really well. Some of their hitters really came through. They have a big series coming up with North Carolina next weekend. And then Texas A&M. Why am I doing Texas A&M? Well, they took care of McNeese State. Now, McNeese State, who are they? Are they any good? Probably not. But they took care of business, really, 37-2. They outscored them. They have a game tomorrow against somebody, and then they play Wagner over the weekend, and Wagner got just destroyed against North Carolina. North Carolina put a whipping on them, I think 46-14 for the series here. So, this is a good spot. Why I put Texas A&M in there too. Good team, ranked team, good bats. Is the pitching staff going to be there? But I think they're going to get off to a really good start here. They could be maybe 7-0 here in their first 7 games, get that momentum, and let's see where they go from there.
All right, and my 3 down, we talked about them earlier. I'm going out of order with TCU. They're 3-0, but that was a very stressful 3-0. And like Q said, that may benefit them down the road to learn how to win those grinded out games. But for the time being, TCU, you gotta take care of business so you're not down by that many. Florida, Q, what happened? St. John's. This is a team.
Cade Fisher got rocked.
Yeah, this is a team that I had futures tickets on, and I was very disappointed in Cade Fisher's start. And then Northeastern. This was a team that we're really high on. I'm still high on them. They had a chance on a big stage to go to Tucson and beat Arizona. They could not get it done, unfortunately. So they may not be ready to play with the big boys yet.
Yeah, Florida was going to be my 4th. Again, they had the 2 rainouts, so it could have been 2 bloodbaths. We just don't know, but we have to go off what we saw. I didn't have Cade Fisher getting throttled on my bingo card. I don't think anybody in America did. Got the first 2 quicks out, hit a guy, and you could see the pressure maybe got to him. Just, I think, opening day jitters. I'm not going to worry about him. Just, Hagen Smith got roughed up. A couple others got roughed up. I'm not worried about them. They proved that last year. They're just fine. But Vanderbilt, same thing, same offense, man. They had 3 hits Saturday. They had 4 runs, 3 hits. Like, that's not going to get it done. I mean, I know Florida Atlantic's not a bum mid-major by any means, and those Florida mid-majors, Texas mid-majors are teams you can't sleep on, but good grief, Vanderbilt's offense is terrible. It's literally last year's script. They just took out the 3 and put a 4. And then Northeastern and UC Santa Barbara, the mid-majors just didn't seem like they were ready to eat on the front porch with the big dogs, especially Northeastern. I really thought they were the better of the 2, even though they weren't ranked higher than UC Santa Barbara. But Cable, he just got rocked. Scotty got rocked. They just looked uncomfortable against, in my opinion, what's going to not be a great Arizona team. And then Santa Barbara, you better pray to God Campbell blows out ECU tomorrow night, because it makes the losses look easier, or better, I should say. But if ECU goes in there into Bowie's Creek and crushes them, then that's a bad look for Santa Barbara.
Smitty.
Yeah, Northeastern, we were high on the big bats. The 2 outfielders didn't do anything. I think one was 0 for 10, one was 3 for 12 in the series. And the pitching staff just wasn't there. The Ace got just smoked on Sunday. So overall, bad performance there. Santa Barbara, like Q just said, they had a great performance on Friday. Maybe they should have left some of those hits and runs for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, that was – so both of those we were high on. And then Coastal Carolina, I think they're going to be fine. But this was the killer bees, we said. I think they have 6 or 7 guys in that lineup that start with the letter B. And, hey, first game against George Mason, they scored a lot of runs. But I think you saw a lot of people scored runs over George Mason over the weekend here. I think it was now against Duke, I get it. Duke has a great pitching staff, but Indiana kind of slowed their bats down too. So that's why I put them in down. I think they're going to be a great team still, but that performance, the last 2 games of that tournament, they didn't hit enough. So the bats were supposed to be there. We talked about the pitching staff. Is it going to hold up? I think the bats will show throughout the year, but this weekend it wasn't good. So I'm going to take you down a little bit.
All right. Well, that just about wraps it up. I want you guys to look at the top 25 again. Tell me if there's any team that sticks out to you that's worth a futures bet outside of Duke. I know you already had tweeted that out.
Not futures, but I'll say this. Somebody asked me on X last night, and I got back to them. They were a Vols fan, and they asked if the high swing and miss rate was concerning, even though, it's weekend run. And I'll say, yeah, because it's been an issue the past 2 years. Like, this isn't a one-off, maybe with like a Virginia or somebody like that who normally hits well. I looked at last night's box card, and I looked at the other nights. It's the same thing. Blake Burke, 1 for 4. Dylan Dreiling, 1 for 5. It's other, yeah. Cannon Peebles had a couple hits. Billy Amick had a tower shot, but outside of those 2, it's the same offense. I don't think those guys are going to save the team as much as people think. I think they are both quality hitters, but if guys aren't getting on base for them, they're not going to hit solo shots every time. And that was concerning to me because it's a repetitive pattern.
Well, and to touch on that too, you notice the odds dropped 300 for Tennessee, but went the opposite way for Vanderbilt. And I'm kind of scratching my head here thinking, like, what did you see out of Vanderbilt that now you think they deserve to be a shorter shot than what they were preseason?
I don't know.
I don't see
I'll
it.
tell you who got rocked too. Sawyer Hawks got rocked. Like, your big prize transfer, he was a little shaky. So it's not like he showed you anything. I think he'll be fine, but who knows, man? This is crazy. I don't see how Vanderbilt's in the top 10, honestly.
Smitty,
and that's not even an overreaction.
No, you guys did a great job on the our guide show talking about Vanderbilt, and just said the offense is going to be there. And again, it just, Yeah, Vanderbilt didn't impress me very much. Tennessee, I think Q said it well there. They got to get more guys that can hit the ball a little bit. One team I want to keep an eye on, Texas Tech. I was talking to Q. I love their lineup. The starter, losing his name, Q. Who's the opening day guy? Robinson.
Robinson pitched really well.
Yeah, we were talking about Robinson. And that's a team I want to see how they project throughout the year. That's a team I think keep an eye on a little bit there with Texas Tech.
Well, to close out this, and we're going to start doing this every Monday. I just feel like it lets us go into the new week without having to spend any time recapping. But we're always going to be transparent about our picks. You can follow all of our bets on our bet tracker at ncaainsiders.com. We are 42-29, up 14.1 units for you guys if you followed every single pick that we bet. So we're going to continue to try to crush it for you guys. If you're here just for the picks, I know I posted something on Twitter. Do you like the context behind the pick, or do you just want the pick? Because if you just want the pick, you may want to look up a pick service. It's going to sell something. We've got one more comment here, JP. But that's always been my thing, is I want to give you the context and let you be the final decision maker on whether or not you want to pull the trigger on a bet. Don't just blindly follow picks. We do the research so you don't have to. So I feel like we are some of the sharper minds in college baseball if you do want to blindly follow. But at the end of the day, man, just watch out, because there's a lot of people out here that are putting out picks that are losing, and then will gladly skip into next week without covering anything that they lost. And I don't like that.
Or
like
they don't track their picks.
Disingenuous.
Yeah.
And on Iowa's staff this weekend, Marcus Morgan has been the best, and I agree. I think I talked about it with Noah Beanick over at the College Experience. So what was that, Friday night? We were excited to see Marcus Morgan because I felt like he was a better overall collegiate pitcher than Brody Breck. Breck's got that 104 mile per hour fastball. Sean said, "Were you looking at me?" No, I wasn't. Track everything, but you do sell picks. Horse racing expert there, Sean Alvarez. Go follow him at Smooth Turn 2. You're welcome. What's the deal? Now we've got comments coming in, so we're extending the show. What's the deal with South Carolina plus 3,000? That's what their current odds are on DraftKings for right now. They went from 25 to 30 to 1. Yeah.
Well, I think you just have to see their pitching play out. They lost all three starters, so you're going to see a higher number. I mean, that could change. We saw it last year. Their three starters did really well, and the number plummeted. So just give it time. I don't think they're a bad team.
That's why I wanted to do this sheet, because how fun is it going to be to track it every week to see what the odds did for each team, so we can better handicap it for next year.
Hey, I got one last disclaimer. People were giving me crap on Twitter, because I'll post probably about the fourth or fifth inning that the team's losing. That is 100% intentional. Smitty and Grissom know that. Yeah. If you're watching the game and somebody goes down 3 or 4 and you see that team's brutal or whatnot, Trey Geddes, he gets it. I mean, I'm throwing jinx out there. It's not for lack of knowledge by any means. I had a lot of flack on it about TCU and Texas, and it's all planned and planning.
Got one more question, Mike. Oregon State have enough pitching to make it? I think they do.
Yeah, I do too.
Lineup's legit.
Hey, good questions. Love the action in the chat. Keep it up.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll be back later this week with our preview show for week 2. Until then, good luck. Thanks for tuning in.